It doesn't get bigger than this, Hawkeye fans. The lights will be shining bright at Kinnick Stadium. The Ducks coming to town. This isn't just another Saturday. This is a statement game. A chance to prove the Hawkeyes belong among the nation's best, to silence the doubters, ignite playoff talk, and remind everyone when it's Kinnick at night, anything can happen.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio. You can hear me currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network each weekday from noon to 2 with stations in Des Moines, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, the Quad Cities, and Sioux City. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today, a look at why Oregon is in trouble at Kinnick Stadium and why we know this Hawkeye team is going to be ready to go. We're going to talk about the beginning of the Iowa basketball season. Plus, Tom Kakert is going to join us with some news and notes with Iowa basketball, including some recruiting nuggets on the women's basketball side. But we begin today with the big week. This is as big as it gets for Iowa football. And the anticipation for this game, the buildup, Iowa coming off the bye week as Oregon did, both teams off this week. We know the buildup is going to be immense. It was announced over the weekend. We find out that this will be a 2:30 kickoff. That's right. CBS will have the call. And a great part about that, Nestler, Danielson on the call. So, of course, you'll get the national notoriety that comes along with that. But not only that, you also couple it with Big Noon is coming to town. That's right. The whole Fox crew is going to be there. And though they're not broadcasting the game, they will be in town. Their pregame show will be coming from Iowa City, the first time in 4 seasons that we will have that. And it's going back to the 2021 Michigan game, the last time that they were in town for that one. So you get all the buildup. You'll have the big names in town. You'll have the breakdown unlike anything, coupled with not having to worry about that 11 a.m. kickoff. A little bit more time for us Hawkeye fans to get well lubricated, right? To get the juices flowing, to get a couple extras in you before you make your way to Kinnick. And it seems to make that voice just a little bit louder when you have that and the liquid courage that comes along with it. Everything is there. Now, we will talk about Oregon this week. And I know Kinnick is special. I understand that this team is playing at a high level. The way the defense made those huge steps forward throughout the month of October. A more healthy Mark Gronowski, and just what a difference maker he has been as he has understand in the run game what he can do. What maybe Tim Lester is understanding what they can do with this quarterback, and on and on and on. It's all building. It's all in front of them. And we know that this can be one of the most special Novembers that Iowa football has had in a really long time. You look at this game. Is this more important, bigger than what we've been when Iowa went to the Big Ten championship game after 2021 and 23? I mean, you look at those games and we know what happened in both of those games against Michigan. We knew it was unlikely the Hawkeyes were going to be able to win those games. And even if they did win those games, there was going to be no college football playoff for either of those squads. In this new environment, in the college football world now, as we know it, in the 12-team playoff, this is as big as it gets. And is with playoff implications, at least in November, this is the first time in a decade we're having these types of conversation. We know what happened in 2015, the undefeated regular season, the laughs, the jokes, Iowa football, buddies over at Solid Verbal Podcast, a college football podcast. They were having the conversation, having to talk to your kids about an undefeated Iowa. Everybody was making their jokes. We know that team was special. They didn't have maybe as much of some of the star power of some of the past teams, but they were a 21-play drive away from playing in the college football playoff. And now that is on the table again. Now, it's not this game alone. Iowa cannot afford a loss the rest of the season. They have to run the table to get to the ultimate, to get to the college football playoff. We know this Iowa football team needs to go 4-0 to get there. The Hawkeyes have to win the 4 remaining games, and it starts Saturday against Oregon. We're going to break down the Ducks. We're going to break down the matchup. We're going to break down what it's going to take to pull off this win throughout the course of the week. However, there is a chance And this is fun. And this is what the 12-team playoff era was supposed to do. Now, how many times that we've talked about the path to get to a Big Ten championship game and the old East-West divide in the Big Ten and all the different maturations of that. But ultimately, were you going to get to the playoff? It was going to take an incredibly special season like they had a decade ago. And that is back on the table. We are here. The chance is now to make this happen, but it's going to be tough. Another reason I believe this game Saturday is so important for Iowa football is because of the narrative, because of the jokes, because of the laughing nature that nationally Iowa football is looked at. Though Iowa over the last decade has the 11th most wins in college football, you look at them compared to their Big Ten brethren, they're punching above their weight. And they've done it year after year after year. This is what Iowa football is, but it's still out there. Mark Gronowski runs for 130 yards. Yeah, but he didn't throw up for a bunch against Penn State. The rushing offense looks good once again. Oh, yeah, but that passing offense still isn't very good. The defense is good, but is it more of a product of their system? On and on and on. We know all the narratives that are out there. And we know how things cratered under the previous offensive coordinator and how ugly that it got for Iowa football. And where you went into so many games just hoping, wishing, can you find a way to get a win? And it wasn't entertaining, and it was frustrating. And I know for a portion of the fan base, you checked out because the wins were nice. And you never want to wish away victories because who knows what the future entails, what it looks like. But to be in this spot, to have this opportunity, this is huge. Look, I'm not going to bring up Eminem. I mean, nobody wants to hear me rap, right? One shot, one opportunity, and it's Saturday. This is as big as it gets for Iowa football. This is rarefied air. This is a chance to do something special and to give Kirk Ferentz that lasting note. Oregon can run the ball. Oregon's got power. And for people thinking that weather's going to be a factor, remember, it's not like the Pacific Northwest. We're not talking about USC coming to town, right? This is different. This team is built on physicality. Oregon is going to be a physical team as well. This is not going to be a chance where Iowa can just play bully ball and win the game. Again, we'll break it down more as the week goes on, but the opportunity in front of this Iowa team, it's absolutely huge. I mean, the opportunity that you have, silence the haters that are out there, the playoff talk that comes in, and you throw it with Kinnick. It's going to end under the lights again with the 2:30 kickoff, with daylight savings upon us now. And with those of you that have kids, yes, we know. It's not fun. But that aside, here we go. This is going to be a fun week. Let's enjoy this week. Not only that, we got the beginning of basketball season. Women go on Monday night, the men on Tuesday. We'll get our first glimpse outside of exhibitions, secret scrimmages, our first real look at this team, and really excited about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Let's go to one of the beat reporters on Iowa football. He is Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. Had an opportunity to talk with him on Friday. We'll get some thoughts on Tom, what's going on women's basketball. A note on Jenica Lewis, the Johnston, a potential recruit. Also, a little bit talk about Bjorn, one of the top 5 players in the country who has Iowa amongst her finalists. We'll get into that. We'll talk some Hawkeye football and a whole lot more. Tom Kakert joins us on the other side, a breakdown of everything going on in the world of Hawkeye athletics. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets could feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Of course, we got the Ducks coming to town, and you look at Kinnick Stadium. Look, this was a pricey ticket going in, but with Game Time, you can find great deals right there on the app. You want to find your way in Kinnick Stadium? Game Time is a place you want to go. Not only can you get great tickets, you can also see exactly where you're going to be inside the stadium. Find your best spot. There's never a bad seat in Kinnick Stadium, and you are good to go. Plus, I love this. What you see is what you're going to pay. No more of those surprise fees at checkout. We've all dealt with those before. Not the case with Game Time. It's faster, cheaper, and way less stressful than any other app that I bought tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. That's right. It's an app, not a website. Just download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Let's talk to Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Hawks off this week. Tom, Trent, and Ken, thank you for coming on. Before we get into football and other topics, etc., somebody called me during the break, asked me to ask you, so I will get this out of the way right now because I don't want to forget. Lewis and Bjorn, when it comes to women's basketball recruiting, where is Jan Jensen and company on Lewis and Bjorn? Are they any of them close? Do you feel better about one than the other? Where are you?
Probably feel better about Jenica Lewis than I do Bjorn, but Bjorn's still taking
Bjorn.
visits.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, she's still taking visits. Jenica was in last weekend, and I've always felt like she's going to end up in Iowa City. I think it's Iowa and Notre Dame right now for her. Those seem to be the top two. But Bjorn's just, it's hard to read her because she's still taking visits.
Gotcha.
So, but that's just my gut feel. Could they end up with both? Yes. I don't think they'll miss on both, though, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Does make sense, no doubt. Ken posted something earlier. I want to get your perspective. You're playing such good football. Probably doesn't come at the most opportune time, but some guys banged up. We saw Bo Stevens leave the game. I know Dunker's kind of been dealing with some things throughout the course of the year. Injury-wise, is there anybody else health-wise getting them back? And maybe this bye week does come at a good time for some guys that are injured. Any names pop into your head?
The one thing that's interesting to me is when Jaden Harrell gets fully healthy, and I don't think he's that far away from being fully healthy, and he may be fully healthy by next week.
Oh, yeah.
Does he get his job back?
That's a great question.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Or is Wally Pipp in play?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's for us old people.
No, you're right.
We're making Wally Pipp references.
Yeah.
Montgomery's not Lou Gehrig.
No.
But it feels like he has been an upgrade from what we've seen from Harrell.
Yeah.
What about Cam Buffy?
Well, and the defense is playing better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Tom, I think the team is improving. I really do. And it's a Ferentz team. So here we are. I would have, middle of September, if somebody was, look, the Hawks just have everything still in front of them when we turn the calendar in November. I said, you're nuts. There's no way in hell. This team, this group, you mean to tell me? No way. Well, I was wrong, or would have been wrong, Tom, because they're still, look, the USC game is going to be difficult, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's still there in front of them. And the team, as you mentioned, the defense getting better. I think the entire team is getting better, Tom.
I do too. I think it's a classic Ferentz team. This team reminds me so much of, minus, if they would have had a Caleb Johnson to fill in the Sean Green role, reminds me so much of that 2008 team where you had just a lot of new guys that were in different roles, and, they kind of stumbled out of the gate and had a couple losses, and then they, by the middle of the year and on the way to the end, they were playing as well as anybody in the country. That they were just really playing at a high level, and it almost feels like this team is a mirror image of that in some ways. They've figured things out. They've come together. They've coalesced, and now they're really playing their best ball right now.
Playing at a high level. Oregon will come to town. We'll talk more about that game next week. But I mentioned it yesterday. One of the most befuddling controversies I've ever seen from apparently a very thin-skinned fan base out there in the Pacific Northwest. Upset at Phil Parker's comment saying that they're well-funded. To equate this to what Mike Gundy was talking about before the game against Oklahoma State is just absolutely crazy. You deal with everybody in your guys' network at On3. Are Oregon people just that dumb? Are they that weird? What's going on there with the Ducks?
I think some other places have made that comment, or other coaches, or somebody's made some other comments to them, and so they've gotten extraordinarily thin-skinned about it. And it's it's interesting. I was like, that's what you're going to get upset about?
Right.
After he said all kinds of glowing things about the Ducks and about the program, and, kind of shouted out Dan Lanning and the whole bit. I mean, he's going to, and they are well funded.
Yes.
Guess what?
Phil Knight.
Guess what? If Iowa was in that situation where they had, were well funded like that, Iowa fans would be saying, "You're damn right we are.
Oh yeah,
we're proud of it and we're happy about it. We love our Phil Knight or whoever it would have been that did that. Why not? It's part of the game. And they look at like it's an insult, like, oh, we're not good, we're just well funded. No, you can afford to get good players, and that's part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Who's the best team in the Big Ten, Tom? Are you convinced it's Ohio State?
I'm not really.
I'm not either.
I'm done doubting Signetti.
Yeah, me too.
He's the bully.
Yep.
You know, he is. Yeah. he goes out and just demolishes everything in front of him.
Yeah.
And Iowa's given him the best game. Iowa should have beaten.
Yes.
Let's be honest. They should have beaten them. If Gronowski doesn't get hurt, they probably win that game.
Right. Screen pass.
And the screen pass.
Who's now your number 3 quarterback.
Right. Exactly.
Because and Tim Lester said it after the bye week. That's a touchdown if he completes it.
Because Logan Jones and one of his running mates, one of his other offensive linemen were clearing the path. They were looking for somebody to block, and there wasn't anybody.
Yeah, it was, and I'm sure Tim looked at the all 22, where he could see what was in front of that play, and there was nothing there apparently. And yeah, just think about that for a second, where Iowa would be
unbeaten in the Big Ten.
Yes. And we'd be having a lot different conversation. Tom, out of that group, Iowa, we know, has to run the table to be a playoff team. Michigan has to run the table. That means beating Ohio State at the end of the year. USC has to run the table. That starts this week against Nebraska, beating Iowa. And, of course, UCLA at the end. Washington still has a path here. Of that group of teams, Washington, USC, Michigan, Iowa, who do you give the best chance of running the table and becoming potentially that 4th college football playoff team?
A great question. I have to look at the schedules. I know USC has to play Oregon yet too, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a stumbling block for them, perhaps. It might be Michigan.
Yeah. Just do it again against the Buckeyes.
Because they live rent free in the heads of the folks in Columbus right now.
Yeah.
And I don't care what Ryan Day can prance around all he wants. It's rent free right now there. So, yeah, I would guess Michigan probably got the best shot of running the table and doing it. Iowa, just because of the history of lack of success on the West Coast.
Yep.
It's hard to envision that, but it wouldn't surprise me because you know what the Achilles heel of that USC team is physical football, and that's been kind of their bugaboo. That's what Notre Dame did to them. They got physical with them, and so we'll see. Got to play the games, but that's what I would probably get Michigan.
Hey Tom, over to basketball. It'll start officially next week. Got our first look last night at the women's team in their exhibition win. On the men's side, pretty soft schedule to open things up. Take us back to a week ago. They take on Texas Tech in that scrimmage. Sounds like Iowa lost by about 10. Not shooting the ball very well in the 2 exhibition games.
They're not. 4 of 27 in the first one against SLU, and then I know they were 1 of 14 in the first half against Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech's really good. We should qualify things by saying that they are a really good top 10-ish team in college basketball this year. So it's not like they lost to a bad team, and I heard it was really competitive. But Iowa started out shooting poorly and started slow and just could never catch up, so to speak. So, I think it's got to be a concern going into the season how this team shoots the basketball, because you've got in the game today. I don't care who you are, you got to shoot. You got to make shots from the outside. That's just part of the game. And so they got to figure this out and watch. They'll come out against Bobby Moe on Tuesday night and probably go 10 of their first 12 and roll. That's just how this game works. But I'm anxious just to see them. I just really am. I just want to see what this looks like and get a feel for this team, because right now we're kind of flying blind.
Yeah.
We think we know, but we don't. We don't. And it's, and McCollum, he even said, I didn't know how it was going to work bringing 4 guys over from Northwest Missouri State last year and to Drake, and worked out well. And he's like, hey, I'm just going to double down in some ways on it and bring 6 this time because I feel like it'll work. Okay, we're going to find out, and if it works, boy, it's going to be fun. If it doesn't, then you got to reset. You really got to reset.
Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. We will speak with you next Friday. Thanks for everything, Tom, as always.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yep. HawkeyeReport.com for Tom Kakert, part of On3 Media.
Thanks, as always, to Tom Kakert for joining us here. We continue Locked On Hawkeyes. We talked some basketball there. A look at tonight, a look at Tuesday, and what we have on store and tap for you throughout this basketball season. Why Iowa is going to be an NCAA tournament team. Oh, I think they are on both the men's and women's side. We continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Well, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next fourth quarter comebacks or who's going to score in the game. Play triple doubles, double doubles. They got you all covered there. And you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps every game even more exciting for you and makes your teams making that late push a little bit more fun. Tonight, my T-Wolves are in action. They got the Nets on the road. You can take a look at that. I'll find some different spots that you like, some different players, what they're going to do. Of course, no Ant this week. Maybe that means that Julius Randle's going to put together a big performance. That's what you can do on the FanDuel app. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. FanDuel.com. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. So we mentioned it is basketball season among us. Iowa's going to be a big favorite on the men's side tomorrow night against Robert Morris. The women are in action as they will face off later this evening against Southern. That'll be on BTN. Iowa saw this Southern team a couple years back in 2022. They won 87-34. I think that gives you a little bit of a reference point of what we kind of are anticipating in this one and the way that it very well could look. When you look at some of the analytical numbers for this one, and Iowa is projected to be a huge favorite in the game. Iowa favored to win by 26.7. That is from Bart Torvik. And still waiting to see a line on FanDuel. Make sure you check out that FanDuel app and see that one. But after the exhibition game last week for the women's side, just trying to see how these pieces fit together. Talked a lot about Chit-Chat Wright, what a difference maker she can be, just the speed that she plays at, the quickness that she has, and what she's going to look like really pushing things forward. We know the veterans, Stuelke, McCabe, Feuerbach, kind of what they are and what they're going to be with this team. It's really about these youngsters and seeing, can Ava Hayden now become one of those dominant posts, game in and game out in her sophomore campaign, and certainly has the upside to do that. The sophomores, Mulaney, Stremlow, how they fit into this new mix. And of course, Addie Deal got off to a little bit of a slow start, had a couple of turnovers that left you scratching your head what she's going to do, what she's going to fit in. A really exciting season, though, obviously, overall for this team. And Tom Kakert just mentioned that a moment ago. Tom said with the Iowa men's team, you just don't know. We're flying blind. I think that's a great way to put it because we think we know how this is going to translate and how it's going to look, but how it's going to be the X factor, Alvaro Fulgaris, what he's going to be, Manwa now playing a bigger, and they're not going to have to see anything until a week from Friday when Xavier comes to town on the 14th. These first two games should be easy victories against Robert Morris and against Western Illinois. Bart Torvik has Iowa favored by 20.5 against Robert Morris and 30 against the Leathernecks when they come to town on Friday night. So that's what's in front of us, but just getting that look at teams, and we will have you covered rapid reaction podcast after most of these men's games and a few of the women's games as well as we get a little bit deeper into the season. We'll have you covered here. Make sure you're hitting subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Hit subscribe if you're on the podcast side of things. All those will let you know exactly when we have new episodes for you each and every game, and those rapid reaction podcasts after the basketball games throughout the course of the season. Well, it is game week with Oregon coming to town. It is a huge week and couldn't be more excited about it. And we have you covered here, Locked On Hawkeyes. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure you check out Locked On Big Ten. Craig Sheeman breaks down the most exciting conference in college sports, from the rivalries, the championship, and every game in between. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast. We'll be back with you tomorrow. We got Spencer McLaughlin. He's coming up this week from Locked On Ducks and Locked On College Football. We will do a crossover edition, and I got some things waiting for Spencer. Can't wait for that one coming up later in the week. Of course, Todd Brommelkamp, he'll be by. We'll have some reaction to the press conference, Kirk Ferentz press conference, and meeting with the players tomorrow. So busy week in front of us. Again, make sure you're hitting subscribe so you know when we are live with you each and every day here on the podcast feed. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.